Nintendo is known for many things, some good and some not so good. One of those not so good things is often not allowing people to listen to songs from their games outside of those games. You might be lucky if any given Nintendo game that isn't Smash Bros has a sound test for you to listen to the songs on their own. And honestly, it seems like such a missed opportunity, because I think there is quite a bit of potential for them to see at least some monetary return if they make their music more accessible to listen to on the internet. So, based on Nintendo's track record with their music, it may come as a surprise to you that there's an instance of a Nintendo game having an official album out there with full remixes of most of its songs. That's honestly a lot more obscure than you'd expect, especially given the series it was made for. Today's topic of discussion is the album Mario Kart 64 on Club Circuit. Thanks to the power of the internet, we have the full album in all its glory in the form of a YouTube playlist, all 28 songs of it. Although 8 of them are just small intermission jingles that are ripped directly from the game, and thus we won't be going over them in this video. Like really, do you think anyone hears this and is like, yeah, I gotta turn up the aux when this one comes on? Getting back on topic though, Mario Kart 64 on Club Circuit was released on December 26, 1997, and like most cool things my favorite gaming series do, it never left Japan, which is probably one of, if not the biggest reason for this album's obscurity. The album was published by a studio called Tokuma Japan Communications, which was one part of the company Tokuma Shoten, a company that's helped handle a lot of media in Japan, and according to everyone's favorite reliable source of information, Wikipedia, their portfolio includes music and video game publishing, movies, anime, magazines, and manga and books. Tokuma Shoten collaborated with many big names, even going as big as Disney. With that brief history of this album's creator out of the way, let's talk about the album itself. There are 20 remixes to listen to in this album, and we'll go over all of them. And as we go, I, an expert on music, with experiences such as taking one online class about the history of music, will be giving my personal thoughts on these remixes, and make my own personal rankings at the end, so we can see which track I personally think is the best. Now that that's all explained, what better way to start than with the remix of the game's title theme? I just wanted to note that this first track sits at a whopping 40,000 views on YouTube over the span of 14.5 years. And it's the most viewed track in this playlist, if you wanted some measurement as to how obscure this album is over here. As the first track in this album, this arrangement in my opinion does a nice job as an introductory track, remaining simple enough and not playing with the original song anywhere near as much as some other tracks in this album. Something that you'll immediately notice when it comes to this track is the abundance of voice clips from the game that are used. And trust me when I say, this will become a theme throughout the rest of the album. For better and worse. But I think in general the voice clips are fine here. Some bonus points also have to go to this song for what I think would be the last set of words I'd expect to be used for a beat drop. If you thought that beat drop was good though, just wait for the second one, as it transitions into a killer soul with what is an organ? Turntable? I don't know what it is. That's just the closest stuff I could think of. Overall, this is a really solid opening to this album, and it had me looking forward to what was next. To start with this one, I really like the instrumental in the beginning of the song, although I can definitely understand how the drum, quote unquote, which kinda reminds me of a drinking bird toy, can be annoying to some, as it persists throughout a good majority of the song. The guitar that comes in a bit after provides a much needed extra spice to the song that avoids it feeling repetitive. As we get to about the 2-minute mark of the song, the first usage of Toad voice clips comes in, and we might be experiencing Toad going through puberty with these sounds. Unfortunately, it doesn't really feel like the song goes anywhere else from there, and mostly it just kinda plays around with that same okay voice clip until going back to the opening chorus as an outro. It's a bit of a shame because I think there was a lot of potential with this track, but I just didn't quite reach that part where I could say, now this is good. This song will let you know right away that Mario has in fact got it. Talking more about the song though, it's a lot more upbeat and energetic than the first two songs in this album, and it's a nice change of pace, giving some variety to the energy of the music in the album. I wrote this down as a note that I liked the usage of the lap count sound effect in particular. It's not much at all, but it just felt pleasant to my ears, so I'm here telling you that I like this one very particular thing about this track. The guitar in this track is also really nice, and I love that I was able to take center stage for a portion of the song, even though Mario getting it was not letting go of its control on the song easily. Despite me making jokes about the usage of the I Got voice clip, or rather, its overusage, the song somehow manages to have more variety in voice clips and sound effects than the previous song, which is truly an impressive feat on the former song's part. At the end, a lot more voice clips come out, such as this random one of kids cheering, along with what sounds like the voice clip of Boo's dying. I don't think it's terrible, but it did feel a bit messy to me, and kinda just added noise if that makes sense. The instrumental, again, was pretty solid, but I can't rank this track super highly due to the mixed results for me on the usage of voice clips and sound effects. This track, as you could probably tell just from the intro, is a lot more wacky and zany in its instrumental than the tracks before it, and I don't mind that. I welcome the change. This track brings us the first usage of the voice clip of Princess Peach screaming, which I'll just warn you right now, it's far from the last time it'll be used here. I guess she's just really bad at driving in the canon universe of this album. The voice clips used in the verse before the second chorus may tell an interesting story though. Our story begins with a voice clip of Toad saying, "Here we go." This suggests that Toad is in the process of carrying out an action. This proclamation by Toad is then followed up with another shriek from Peach, implying that some sort of harm has been put upon her, with the timing implying that Toad is at fault. After that, we hear Wario laughing. Is Toad trying to murder Peach? Is Wario an accomplice to an attempted murder of a political figure? Anyways, now that my in-depth analysis of the usage of voice clips is over with, back to the song. Right after the murder plot, there's a nice solo that goes without said voice clips for a bit, which allows the more traditional instruments some time to breathe, which is something some other songs on this album really could have used. The song is different and not trying to be super hardcore, but in all honesty, I like the goofiness of it, and I think it makes sense considering the tracks the song is used on. With this song, we're back to a much more chill song, being much less frantic and having a slower tempo. This track is actually quite unique in that it uses very little of the voice clips and sound effects. It takes a couple minutes for what sounds like any presence of sound effects in the song, and even then, they're very minimal. Because of that fact, I want to use this segment to talk about how the voice clips and sound effects are kind of like their own kinds of instruments, that ideally mesh with the more traditional instruments in order to elevate the song, at least for me. As a result of the song kinda not being super dynamic and lacking those effects, there is honestly not much to say here. It's not a bad thing though, It sounds like a nice song to listen to while just chilling out. One thing I will say though is that ironically, considering my past critique of some of the sound effects and voice clips, which will continue throughout the rest of this album, I kinda wish they used them a bit more in this track. Cause like I said, ideally, the non-traditional instruments, the voice clips and sound effects, would be used in a way that creates a perfect cohesion with the more traditional instruments. However, this isn't too common throughout this album, so I can forgive this qualm somewhat. Now onto the Calamari Desert remix, which I was surprised to find out I had actually heard before. It was my only exposure to this album beforehand. We start with what sounds like a banging on metal. The song starts a bit slow, but really starts to pick up for me when the chain chomp sound effect gets introduced. I also love the usage of the Let's Go sound effect here as a sort of beat drop to the chorus. It fits very well. I also like the train sounds. They're not too intrusive on the track to me, and they help connect the remix closer to Calamari Desert as a chorus, so I like it. Perhaps it has to do with my bias from having heard it before, but this was easily my favorite track so far, and a standout in the album for me. My only nitpick is that I wish the banging on metal sound effect was a bit quieter at times, but overall, a great track. As a quick note before I actually start playing the song, I just wanted to point out that most of the tracks before have ranged from about 4 to 5 minutes, but this one jumps to a staggering 8 minutes. The track fits its saying of a highway, being much faster paced, and that guitar is much appreciated by me. It just absolutely goes to town at points in this track. But then, we couldn't help ourselves. The voice clips come back as the announcer is calling for Mario for some reason. Maybe because he fell asleep and he was supposed to be the one shredding the guitar for this solo.
Mario! Mario! Mario!
After that, a voice clip plays, and I have no idea what the heck Mario is actually saying here. Is this supposed to be a game and I have to come up with something? Well, here you go then. This unintelligible mess is preceded by another solid solo, this time from a digital keyboard. To be honest, if we took out the voice clips and sound effects from this album, this would probably be in my personal top 3 songs in the album, if not at least top 5. It's just a shame that the voice clips don't really elevate this song for me like I know they could. Out of all the tracks in this album, this is easily the one that feels the most different from its original arrangement. If you told me that this was an original song and not actually the theme for the snow tracks in this game, I'd probably believe you. Not trying to say that as a bad thing, because I do like the song, it's just that I had to listen to it in my head a couple times to notice the resemblance. This song does have its fair share of usage of sound effects, but honestly, for the most part, they're used really well, with a few exceptions though. On the brighter side though, I wanted to highlight a couple of them that I really liked, such as the Here We Go voice clip from Toad that serves as a breakdown into the chorus. Along with that, the usage of the lightning sound effect, as it's kinda like a piano. Unfortunately, there is one section with a bunch of voice clips that I just don't really think adds much to the track. That aside though, in general I really like this track, though I don't really think about snow too much when listening to it. And even with those not so great voice clips and sound effects, I think some of the most clever uses of them are also present in this track. This is the shortest song in this album, being only 3 minutes and 25 seconds long. This is one of the most notable things I will say about this track. Getting to the song itself, it sure is a remix of Choco Mountain. Yeah, this is going to be an overwhelmingly negative review. This track doesn't do anything super well for me. The melody isn't terrible, but far from the best this album has to offer. The sound effect usage is minimal, and when it comes, it's nothing outstanding. There's also a sound effect used for half of the song that sounds like me when I'm sick. Constant sniffling. On top of that, there's no real huge standout moment in this remix for me. It's honestly probably the most forgettable track in this album to me. Sorry I couldn't really say anything positive about this one, I just don't really think there's a notably good thing this track does. Yeah, I know this is the second results theme, but it's what comes first in the playlist, so we're gonna cover this one first. There's a sound constantly playing in the background throughout this track. It kinda sounds like the cracking of a fireplace, though it could maybe be intended to be raindrops falling, which would make sense since it's a lost theme. There's also some voice clips of Bowser laughing, along with Mario saying "see you next time," which if the goal was to make the player feel angry like they had lost, they would be doing their job, as I'd probably be mad if I lost. These were the only things I heard in their head. At about the halfway point of the song, we finally start to hear it pick up somewhat, but at this point, I think the repeating voice clips are starting to make me go insane, so it's already too late to save the song. This also brings up a problem with my expert analysis. If the song doesn't pick up within the first minute, maybe minute and a half, I'm probably not going to like the song that much. I'm a young person who likes watching short-form videos. Any attention span I had is gone now. You gotta jangle the proverbial keys in front of me to keep me interested in the song. However, solely for the song fitting the theme better, and me liking the melody more than the one for the Chocolate Mountain remix, I do think this at least beats out for not being the worst song in the album. So for that, congratulations to the arrangers of this track.
See you next time!
Mario Kart lead.
right away, I'm already infinitely more interested in this track than I was in the previous two. It kinda sounds like it'd be an intro to a Mario Kart anime or something, if that were ever a thing. However, did we really need the Toad Puberty voice clip to return? It feels kinda out of place here. Another thing that I know when listening to this track was that it kinda felt like this was a normal song, but with the Starlight motif plastered over it, if that makes sense. I like this sound right here as we enter the build-up. It kinda sounds like the engine's revving, getting ready to be let loose as we enter what is for me the highlight of the track. The second half is kind of a repeat of the first half, but not enough noticeable differences for me to talk about here. I like the track, it's just that I can't shake the feeling that the arrangement isn't built around the Starlight motif like it should be, and it's just kinda thrown into a pre-existing song. Like the Moo Moo Farm and Yoshi Valley arrangement, this track is a lot more wacky than I expected, as I thought we might get a more rock or metal type track, but I like it, especially considering the contents of this arrangement. For this track, the sound effects and voice clips are actually used in a very interesting way, because unlike some other tracks where I was confused what the sound effects were trying to do other than add noise, even if the execution wasn't quite perfect, I think I could tell what they were going for. The sound effects emulate a game of battle mode in the background, which is an actually unique idea, and I like the execution, though it raises the one problem for me of why the announcer's Mario voice clip is so present in this track. It just doesn't really fit. It's a minor nitpick though. The background battle game allows the track to remain interesting without any significant shifts in the melody itself, though that's definitely not to say that the song remains static the entire way through. There are definitely some notable shifts in there that are also really nice. The song tried something different, and while the voice clips don't directly elevate the song, they, along with some of the ones in the star arrangement, do something different, and they make the track that much more memorable. Something like this is exactly what I wanted out of the arrangements in this album, and to spoil it early, this is my personal favorite song in the album. Really well done. And I am greeted with a jump scare of the Princess Peach screaming voice clips return. This is just about the last thing I expected an arrangement of a results theme to open up with. In general though, the remix sounds kinda ominous for what it's an arrangement of. I'm sorry to say it again, but the voice clips and sound effects don't feel like they either directly elevate the main song or do something interesting to make it memorable. They just add noise. However, at 1:15, we do get a build-up, and with a build-up like this, that's how you know the song is about to get good. Unfortunately, there's not much more to say here, as the second half isn't much different from the first. This kinda feels like a slightly better case of the Toad's Turnpike arrangement to me. A really good song, with voice clips that while they don't significantly detract from the track, don't add much to it other than noise for me. It also just doesn't really fit the theme for me, unless it's trying to describe the results of the race or battle, which isn't really the vibe I get from it. Now this is an arrangement that's fitting of its setting. It's very sinister, and the sound effects at the beginning, especially the one that sounds like a creaking door, help to amplify that feeling. The usage of the Mario sound effects as well makes it feel like the song is telling a tale of him attempting to traverse Bowser's castle, dodging many traps along the way, although I do wish that they used a couple different voice clips. As this part goes on, however, there's an organ that slowly starts to become more prominent, as if it's some sort of grave danger beginning to close in on Mario, and it's such a nice touch. The creaking door sound effect returns later in the song, which then gives me the feeling of when you reach the end of a fortress level in a Mario platformer and go through the door for the incoming boss fight. This theme, along with the battle theme, have done exactly what I've wanted to see this album do with its sound effects and voice clips, and have helped me lay out a sort of guideline for what well-used sound effects and voice clips should be doing in this album in my eyes. Does their usage make sense? Can I tell what it's trying to contribute to the arrangement other than adding noise? Of course, these kinds of questions will have subjective answers, and people will find different sorts of value in differing decisions made in music, but for me, a lot of these voice clips and sound effects have merely added noise, while the ones in this arrangement and the battle theme arrangement have either elevated the song directly and enhanced the vibe of the song, or do something different to help create a setting that makes the song more memorable to me. This is what I want to see more of in this album. Just a wonderful track here. So you know how I said I liked the previous track, and it was the perfect example in my eyes of what the composer should be doing with the voice clips and sound effects? Well yeah, you can throw all of that out of the window with this track, because this just devolves into voice clip spamming. It feels like the audible version of an 8-year-old making a Mario Maker level where they just barf out a bunch of enemies all over the place. The sad thing is that the instrumental in this song actually sounds quite nice when I can make it out over all the voice clips being used, with the two biggest offenders in my eyes being the sound effect, and Luigi saying bingo and laughing like a maniac half the time. The only other positive I really have is this one solo that has no voice clips whatsoever. I wish I had more positive to say about other than the instrumental, but I really don't. This is the one song that I think I would actively get angry listening to again. I just can't look past the horrendous usage of the voice clips here. Congratulations, Jungle Remix. You surpassed the Choco Mountain Remix as the worst track in this album. Take a bow. The general melody of the track kinda reminds me of something that I hear in an SNES game. Like with Choco Mountain, my opening random statement will be arguably the most notable thing I have to say about this song. This track does sound eerie, which I think does a good job at fitting the setting of Banshee Boardwalk. The biggest issue with the song for me is that's probably the most stagnant track in the entire album. It just feels like there's next to no change here. Now, you'd think this would mean that I'd try to be somewhat of an expert on music and give an actual analysis of this track. Nope, I'm just gonna criticize the song for being stacked pretty much the whole way through, outside of one short-lived exception, because it made my job here more difficult. I will say that the loud sound of the gusting wind along with the instrument accompanying it was just a bit unpleasant to my ears. I do at the very least think this ranks just above the Choco Mountain remix for me though, solely for the track fitting its intended setting better. Alright, the energy is back! Thank goodness, because the lack of energy of the past few tracks I listened to was threatening to put me to sleep. For some reason, towards the beginning of the song, the main melody of Rainbow Road is less prominent in comparison to this other sound that overwhelms it at times. A decision that even after a few times of listening to the song, I do not understand. My brain would start to tune out the main melody of Rainbow Road being played because of the sound, leaving moments where my mind can't process that the actual melody of Rainbow Road is in fact there, just being drowned out by what seems like the main instrument of the first minute or so. However, at a minute 13, a third of the way through the song, that melody finally comes out and takes center stage, and it's the highlight of the song. The track is fine, there's really nothing else I have to say about it though. In all honesty, I think there's a rare instance in which I have more negative to say about the song itself than the voice clips.
Mario.
We start by getting jump scared by a different announcer than the one in the previous songs. I've seen in comments that it's the one from Wave Race 64, but I'm not sure if that's true. I'm just gonna assume it is since I probably know less than this person. As I've said in the past, I'm a sucker for guitars that make funky noises like this. This track kinda reminded me of some of the tracks from the Japanese Sonic CD OST. Most notably for me, Quartz Quadrant and Stardust Speedway. And I'll just tell you it's a compliment if I'm comparing you to tracks like that. If there's one notable negative I have about the song though, the sound that plays at around the 428 mark was not great to listen to for me. Thankfully, the song bounces back pretty quickly and remains pretty solid to the end. This is the best track I've heard in a good bit, and by that, I mean 4 songs ago, but still, it feels quite a bit longer when you've heard 3 songs that are alright at best to you in a row. It's not anything amazing, and isn't faultless, but it's pretty good, all things considered. At 7 minutes long, this is one of the longer tracks in the album. The song starts pretty slow, but does pick up after the return of the holy guitar, accompanied by a voice clip that I can't tell what's saying, so here's more of me attaching a random quote to a voice clip. I, unfortunately again, don't have too much to say about a song because there's not really that major pickup moment, but this is a kinda nice relaxing stunning track in my eyes, so it's got that going for it. Other than that though, again, not really much else to say. Finally, we've arrived at the last track of this album. The song decides to make sure you're awake for it at the beginning by starting with Wario laughing, and I think playing a lower pitched version of it throughout the beginning as well. I absolutely adore the flute instrument used for the melody of the credits theme here, but I also have to ask, Why, oh why, are we still kinda just throwing in voice clips and having them be in without much real rhyme or reason? At least to me, this is mostly in reference to the voice clip of Toad saying yes.
Here we go!
At least to me, this is mostly in reference to the voice clip of Toad saying yes. We have an interesting little bridge here before the verse, starring Mario. I do not necessarily use the word interesting as a compliment.
Mario! Oh, I missed! I've got to win! Mario! Oh, I missed! I've got to win!
For an arrangement of a credits theme for a Mario game, especially one that's been very liberal with its usage of voice clips, you'd expect way more Mario voice clips in this track. But no, he's not really there at all in the song. It's pretty much all Wario and Toad, with the occasional Mario shout from the announcer, who's back after a brief substitution a couple songs ago. Maybe this is Wario and Toad celebrating their assassination plan from earlier going well. Wait, was this actually a story about Wario and Toad murdering Peach all along? I'm sorry to say it, but I honestly kinda expected more from the final track. It's not bad, but there's definitely better in this album to me. It does end the only way I think would have been fitting though.
Hey, you very good!
So, yeah, that's all 20 remixes in the Mario Kart 64 on Club Circuit album. It was a pretty fun listen, and to be honest, even though I said a lot of negative things throughout, I do really like most of these tracks. I just think there was some missed potential in them. But anyways, how do these tracks rank up against each other for me? Well, to get over with quickly, from worst to best, number 20, Jungle, number 19, Mountain, number 18, Obake, number 17, Result 2, Lose, number 16, Rainbow, number 15, Select, number 14, Star, number 13, Prize 1, 1st through 3rd, number 12, Highway, number 11, Circuit, number 10, Result 3, Versus Andor Battle, number 9, Farm, number 8, Staff Roll, number 7, Result 1, Win, number 6, Beach, number 5, Snow, number 4, Title, number 3, Desert, number 2, Castle, and number 1, Versus Andor Battle. This album, as I said in the beginning of this video, is a shockingly obscure piece of Nintendo history to me, and that's probably for a variety of reasons, so I wanted to make this video to hopefully make it more known to the general public, because I don't think Nintendo would do something like this with their music today. Heck, they've had over a decade to realize that maybe putting their music on YouTube would be a good idea when they keep taking music channels down, and they still haven't done it yet. I hope you've had fun listening to me make jokes about remixes of video game music, and poorly try to analyze it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.